The question of whether Terence Crawford can defeat Canelo Alvarez in their anticipated super middleweight clash in September has sparked intense debate within the boxing community. This matchup pits two of the sport's most celebrated figures against each other. Crawford, a pound-for-pound great known for his technical brilliance, and Alvarez, a four-division champion and super middleweight kingpin. The discussion hinges on whether Crawford's skill set is so exceptional that he can bridge the significant gap in weight classes, overcome Alvarez's physical advantages, and emerge victorious. Some argue Crawford's mindset and adaptability give him a legitimate chance, potentially over 60%, to win, while others, including Alvarez himself, dismiss the notion, citing the size disparity. This analysis delves into the fighter's attributes, the opinions of boxing experts, and the strategic elements that could determine the outcome, exploring whether Crawford's skill and mentality can indeed trump Alvarez's experience and power. Crawford, at 37, is a three-division undisputed champion, having conquered the lightweight, super lightweight, and welterweight divisions. His recent victory over Israil Madrimov earned him the WBA super welterweight title at 154 pounds, marking his debut in the division. Now, he aims to jump two weight classes to challenge Alvarez at 168 pounds, a feat that would cement his legacy as one of boxing's all-time greats. Alvarez, 34, has been a dominant force at super middleweight, holding a 10-0 record in the division and aiming to become a two-time undisputed champion in his upcoming fight against William Skull on May 3 in Saudi Arabia. With titles won from 154 to 175 pounds, Alvarez's resume is formidable, but his two career losses, to Floyd Mayweather in 2013 and Dimitri Bivol in 2022, highlight vulnerabilities that Crawford might exploit. The physical matchup presents immediate challenges for Crawford. Alvarez, though naturally a 147-pounder in his early career, has grown into a powerful super middleweight, leveraging his strength to dominate opponents. Crawford, standing at 5 feet 8 inches with a 74-inch reach, holds a slight height and 4-inch reach advantage over Alvarez, who also stands at 5 feet 8 inches but has a 70-inch reach. However, Alvarez's bulkier frame and experience at higher weights give him a significant edge in strength. Crawford's recent performance against Madrimov raised concerns, as he appeared to struggle at times, absorbing clean shots and looking less dominant than in his welterweight bouts. At 37, some question whether age and the physical toll of moving up to 168 pounds could hinder him against a seasoned fighter like Alvarez. Despite these challenges, Crawford supporters argue that his skill set, marked by pinpoint accuracy, exceptional timing, and the ability to switch stances, makes him a unique threat. Unlike Alvarez, who has fought 25 more bouts and 263 more rounds, Crawford has less wear and tear on his body, potentially giving him an edge in stamina. His southpaw stance, combined with superior footwork, could disrupt Alvarez's rhythm, as seen in Alvarez's struggles against mobile fighters like Billy Joe Saunders and Caleb Plant. Crawford's ability to counterpunch and capitalize on opponents' mistakes aligns with the style of Mayweather, who outclassed a younger Alvarez in 2013. If Crawford can avoid Alvarez's power shots and exploit his tendency to fade in later rounds, he could outbox the Mexican star over 12 rounds. Boxing professionals are divided on the outcome. Some, like former champion Shawn Porter, express concerns about Crawford's ability to absorb Alvarez's punches over a grueling fight. Porter, who was stopped by Crawford in the 10th round of their 2021 welterweight title bout, acknowledges the power differential between weight classes. However, he notes that Alvarez often slows down in later rounds, a trend observed in recent fights. Porter suggests that if Crawford can weather the early storm, his speed, athleticism, and stamina could tilt the fight in his favor. Porter emphasizes that boxing isn't solely about strength. Factors like intelligence, speed, and experience play critical roles. He believes Crawford's intangibles, his heart, mindset, and adaptability, give him a legitimate shot, even as the betting underdog. Others, like former world champion Barry McGuigan, are more confident in Crawford's chances, likening him to Sugar Ray Robinson for his timing and counterattacking ability. McGuigan argues that Crawford must avoid trading punches early and rely on elusive movement to neutralize Alvarez's power. By staying out of the striking zone and using his footwork to frustrate Alvarez, Crawford could force the champion into a tactical battle where skill trumps strength. McGuigan warns that engaging in a trench war with Alvarez would be disastrous, as Alvarez thrives in close-quarters combat. Instead, Crawford should aim to outmaneuver Alvarez, capitalizing on any signs of fatigue in the later rounds. Evander Holyfield, a former undisputed champion in 2 weight classes, offers a more cautious perspective. He acknowledges Crawford's skill and punching power but believes Alvarez's fundamental style and physicality make him a tough obstacle. Holyfield emphasizes the tactical nature of the fight, noting that both fighters must find ways to impose their game plans. For Crawford, this means using his speed and precision to get the guy before you get got. Holyfield points out Alvarez's occasional defensive lapses and fatigue, which Crawford could exploit, but cautions that Alvarez's experience at 168 pounds gives him an edge in a war of attrition. Mike Tyson and Andre Ward also weigh in, with Tyson calling it a pick'em fight and Ward strongly favoring Crawford. Tyson cites Alvarez's loss to Bivol as evidence that he can be outboxed by a skilled opponent, while Ward compares Crawford's mentality to his own, describing him as a dog who thrives in high-stakes situations. Ward argues that Crawford's skill, heart, and adaptability make him a safe bet against anyone, including Alvarez. Shakur Stevenson, who considers Crawford a mentor, echoes this sentiment, emphasizing that skills, not size, win fights. Stevenson believes Crawford's southpaw stance, movement, and boxing IQ could neutralize Alvarez's power, making it difficult for Alvarez to land his signature hooks. Alvarez, however, remains skeptical of Crawford's chances. He argues that Crawford, like Jermall Charlo, is too small to compete at 168 pounds. Alvarez points to his experience against bigger opponents and his ability to roll with punches, a skill honed from his days in lower weight classes. He acknowledges the public's interest in the fight, but insists his focus is on his upcoming bout with Skull. Alvarez also draws parallels between Crawford and Mayweather, suggesting that a victory over Crawford could prove how much he has evolved since his loss to Mayweather. Yet, he downplays the matchup, questioning its logic given the size disparity. Crawford, undeterred, dismisses Alvarez's size advantage, noting that Alvarez himself moved up from 147 pounds and lost to Bivol at 175. Crawford argues that Alvarez is not a machine, but a human who can be hurt, emphasizing that his goal is to outbox Alvarez, not necessarily knock him out. He points to his own success moving up weight classes, contrasting it with Alvarez's loss at a higher weight. Crawford's confidence stems from his belief in his technical superiority and ability to adapt mid-fight, a hallmark of his career. His recent claim of weighing 186 pounds, later clarified as 140 pounds with a laugh, suggests he's unfazed by the physical challenge, focusing instead on strategy. The betting odds reflect the skepticism surrounding Crawford's chances. For the first time in his 17-year career, he's the underdog, a position that seems to fuel his competitive fire. The size difference, combined with Alvarez's dominance at super middleweight, makes the fight a steep challenge. Yet, Crawford supporters argue that his underdog status mirrors his career arc, consistently defying expectations. His ability to dominate Errol Spence Jr. in 2023, a fight many considered competitive, underscores his capacity to outperform predictions. Strategically, Crawford's path to victory lies in leveraging his speed and movement to avoid Alvarez's power shots. Alvarez's high guard defense, while effective, can be exploited by a mobile fighter who forces him to chase. Crawford's ability to switch stances and land precise counters could frustrate Alvarez, who has shown vulnerability against elusive opponents. If Crawford can survive the early rounds, where Alvarez is likely to press the action, he could capitalize on Alvarez's tendency to fade, as noted by Porter and Holyfield. However, Alvarez's experience, physicality, and ability to cut off the ring pose significant threats. If Alvarez can trap Crawford in close quarters, his body shots and power could break Crawford down, as Porter fears. The fight's outcome may hinge on intangibles, Crawford's mindset versus Alvarez's experience. Crawford's confidence, described by Ward as a rare blend of skill and heart, gives him an edge in mental toughness. Alvarez, however, has faced a wider array of opponents and styles, from Mayweather to Bivol, and his ability to adapt has made him a mainstay at the top. The clash of styles, Crawford's technical precision versus Alvarez's calculated aggression, promises a chess match, with each fighter looking to impose their will. Public sentiment, as reflected on platforms like X, is mixed. Some fans argue that Crawford's performance against Madrimov exposed limitations, with one user noting, Crawford looked old and hittable at 154. Canelo at 168 is a different beast. Others counter that Crawford's adaptability makes him a live underdog, with a post stating, Bud's IQ and counterpunching are on another level. Canelo's power won't matter if he can't land clean. These opinions underscore the fight's unpredictability, with no clear consensus. Ultimately, The question of whether Crawford can beat Alvarez remains open. His skill set, speed, timing, and adaptability gives him a legitimate chance, potentially as high as 60% in the eyes of his supporters. However, Alvarez's size, power, and experience at 168 pounds make him the favorite. Crawford's strategy will likely focus on outboxing Alvarez, using movement to avoid a firefight, while Alvarez will aim to close the distance and impose his physicality. The fight, if it materializes, will test whether Crawford's brilliance can transcend weight classes, or if Alvarez's dominance at super middleweight is insurmountable. For now, the boxing world awaits, eager to see who can open the other's tuna can in this clash of titans.